Welcome back to all our Auburn recruiting junkies. Yes, we are back in with another video, and we are continuing with a trend now in football after the basketball side of things has quieted down. We're talking about the defensive side of the ball here, and when I return to someone very familiar, let's talk about that person, the quick facts that you need to know, and of course, what it means for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers. Before we do that, I want to welcome you back here to the channel E2C Network, where we share the Auburn experience. That Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, Auburn family stuff. If it's orange and blue, it's what we do. And as always, if you enjoy what we do, we appreciate you smashing the like button, that share button, whatever you can do in that realm. Obviously, it's been nice to get back into a habit of doing some football ones of these. Obviously, go check out all of those basketball ones. Still plenty of things and conversations to have around that. But let's get our focus here about this football team post-spring. This is the second, and it was actually all on the same day now that I remember this, because this was on Easter when I was like, are y'all going to give me a break? They weren't. Two on Easter. This was the second of, and it's a familiar name, which was very nice surprise to see. A lot of people have been thought this might actually happen. Who is it? Jay Hardy. You're definitely going to remember that name. He was highly regarded coming out of high school, the Chattanooga area, and he's coming over from Liberty. There's some obvious connections there that we'll get to in just a second. Coming over from the Liberty Flames to spend what will likely be his final year of eligibility, as he started back in 2020 with the Auburn Tigers, then went over to Liberty, where a certain coach was there, and redshirted his first year, spent the last 3 years, and was marred by injuries in his last year at Liberty. So you'll see that reflected in some stats in a little bit. That's kind of the timeline of events for him right now. Now, where's he going to play? We're talking about the defensive side of the ball. We're talking about interior defensive linemen, listed about 3'10", listed about 310 pounds, 6'3". Got it right the second time. So that's going to put him interior defensive lineman, nose tackle, defensive tackle, which of those he'll play. Obviously, he's got to work his way through the depth chart, the playing time aspects of this to see where he'll fit into and which specific position. Now, obviously, we've talked about the cool connection that he's returning back to Auburn. You don't see that often. Leaving a school, going somewhere else for that length of time, mind you, and still coming back. It's a pretty cool story, and you got to love it. You can always come back home. Here's the other cool thing. He went to Liberty. Who was there? Coach Hugh Freeze. That's the coach that drew him there. He actually also knew Coach Vontrell King Williams, who was going to be his positional coach. So those two guys were instrumental in not only building a relationship that was real with him while he was at Liberty, but also seeing the value in him to bring him back for a final year and bring him back home to Auburn. That's just a really cool story when you think about it, and I love things like that. Let's look at some stats, and obviously, as I warned you, if you look on the ESPN stats here, you're going to see that last year with Liberty, not so great. Not so great. He didn't play a whole lot of games. I think maybe 5, something like that. But let's look at the year before that. 31 total tackles, 2 sacks, 1 pass deflection. Certainly you can see he's got some versatility in there and a much bigger contributor than his last year showed at Liberty. So that gives you an idea overall what he could be bringing to the table, and certainly going to be a valuable piece of that defense. Let's talk about now what it means for Jay Hardy, what it means for Auburn, for Hugh Freeze, depth chart, all that stuff. We'll start by looking at the class makeup right now. Again, it's a very large class just with transfers alone. At the time of his commitment, because there was something a day later, at the time of his commitment, that made 17 total transfers for Auburn out of the transfer portal for the 2025 class. Not going to break it down any further than that. It made it like over 30 for the total class, high school and otherwise, and then it'd be even more difficult to do all the defensive things like that. But it looks like, as far as transfers, this was going to be definitely your first, but likely maybe only interior defensive line, at least at this point we can talk about, that looks likely to fill that position right now. Now, if you look at some of the high schoolers, you've got some names like Malik Autry, Jordan Crawford, definitely. They're going to potentially fill in that interior defensive lineman as well, and that are part of the class too, so you consider that as part of that. So maybe 3-4 guys that are going to be interior defensive linemen. Now let's talk about what does it mean in terms of playing time. Obviously, he's got experience, familiarity at Auburn, familiarity with the coaching staff. That's going to help. But if you look at the group of interior defensive linemen, you're going to see Malik Blockton is definitely someone who's secured his spot there. Probably Quintrell Jamison Travis as well is going to have some time locked down there too. You got some other names, Akevius Walker, that have been here for a while, then probably got a lot of trust with the coaches, and you've got a young group that's coming in behind him. So he's probably going to fall somewhere in the middle of all of that and have to work his way into more and more playing time. But you got to think that he was highly regarded. He's shown that he can do a lot more than his final year. Wouldn't surprise me if he starts playing significantly as the season goes on in his final year. Finally, what does his commitment mean for the rest of this class, the rest of the transfer portal class for 2025? It's so large as it is already. If you look at what we just kind of broke down, you're probably looking in terms of upperclassmen and younger guys that have secured playing time already. Malik Blockton, you're looking at a rotation of about 5 to 6 guys, maybe at this point. Work in a few of those freshmen, you're looking about 7 to 8. So that feels like the room is pretty well secure in terms of depth with experience, young talent that's going to be getting better and better over time. I would never say that we are done. You could always use more bodies, it feels like, at offensive lineman, defensive lineman. So I would never say that we're done yet, but it's starting to feel like this depth chart is getting filled out pretty nicely. That's what we have for you today about Jay Hardy, the quick facts, things that it means for Hugh Freeze, for the Auburn Tigers, all that. We want to know from you. What do you think about Jay Hardy coming back to Auburn? Let us know in the comments section. And thanks so much for hanging out with us here today, and we appreciate you being here. War Eagle.